you're not in service to your mission, your truth, your purpose, then by default you end up becoming a servant to someone else's.
Watch them grow, perceive, devote. This is the seed, light the show. Watch them grow.
Hey guys, Princess India here for the 99 and the 2000 what's not or whatever.
You know what I'm saying?
The purpose of this intro is to break down to you everything that I usually say in the beginning of each sign's video, but the intention of it is to cut down on time so we can jump straight into the messages and into the reading. I decided to be really extra and separate this into X.
X number one.
I start with a pick a card. Now, what is the purpose of the pick a card? The purpose of the pick a card is actually the extended reading. So the 3 cards that we pick are actually never really talked about here. I don't want to send everyone over to Vimeo to get an extended that they may not need. So in the event that you watch the YouTube general and you feel that you need a little bit something extra and you decided to pick a card in the very beginning, you would follow me over to Vimeo at the end of the video and you would go by that group that you picked. Act number 2. Right before we get into the cards, usually around the time that I'm shuffling, I give you guys any intuitive messages or visions that I saw for your particular sign. The whole purpose of this is to set your energy and to set your intention and to give you guys a general energy for the month in accordance with whatever comes out with the cards. Act numero 3. It's number 3. Act number 3 is just a reading. It's not awkward. So anywho, let's get into your reading. Hello, Leo. Welcome to your November reading. Hopefully you watched the intro so you know what we're about to do. I'm going to start by picking you guys cards. So be sure to pick number 1, 2, or 3. And we're going to jump into you guys' intuitive message, which was interesting. And I'm moving really quickly so that I can tell you quickly because it's a lot going on. I had to jot down a few little pointers so I don't forget. So I'm going to be moving pretty quickly. So go ahead and pick card 1, 2, or 3. And we'll jump right in. Okay, that's 1, 2, and 3. If you picked card number 1, we have prayer. That's eerily appropriate. If you pick number 2, we have workaholic. And if you picked card number 3, we have release. So here is the thing. And then that's group number 1 is solar plexus, group number 2 is throat chakra, and group number 3 is your crown chakra. So getting into you guys' intuitive message, I had to jot down notes because I don't know. What I saw kind of caught me off guard. And I had to kind of sit to understand what it is that I was seeing. But the moment I closed my eyes, Leo, we were in a church, you know? And there was like a whole brawl breaking out on the stage of the church behind the pulpit. And it's like people were fighting for the microphone behind the pulpit. And I did not understand what it was that was going on, Leo. I was very confused. It was like, why are people fighting in church? That's not what's hot in the streets right now. You know what I'm saying? But there's a method to the madness. So the whole thing that I gather with that, what we're talking about here is, you know, Leo energy, which is leadership, right? Your prowess. But the way that this breaks down is in a bunch of different facets, which is what it is. Let me stop not shuffling. But it's in a bunch of different facets. So overall, for all of the different energies I'm about to tell you guys about, it's important for Leo to be cognizant, conscious, and aware of the level of influence that it is that you guys have in your life. And this is whether or not you're in an actual leadership position. Because for some of my Leos, it's in the sense of like being a parent, right? Where a lot of times like parents can say, you know, do as I say, not as I do. But there's a need to be very clear whether, and that's one of the specific energies, is a Leo that's a parent of how choices you're making or decisions you're making or how it is that you're approaching life and things, whatever, that there's a level of unspoken, indirect influence that a Leo parental figure has on their children, or for you as a child. There's a level of unspoken influence or, conditioning that happens from a parent, like when you were a kid, to your parents, and how that's influenced how you approach life. And there's a need to be cognizant and aware of that this month, right? So whether it's you having been a child at one point in time, as we all have, and then for others of you who are parents, because it's an unspoken influence in the fact that we could tell our children, and those of us who are our parents are aware of that, we could tell our kids a ton of things, but they're always going to model our behavior. And I'm not getting any more of what that means. It's just that that's something that y'all have to be aware of. So whether that's you being the influenced one, or if you are a parent and you have kids, whether they're small or big, it's like a key or a missing link into understanding their behavior is to more or less look at yourself. Because even if you say, like, don't be like me or don't make decisions like me, it's just the fact that because kids model behaviors, they're going to emulate that anyway. You know what I mean? And it's like it's blank for me after that. So I feel like whoever that message is for, and if you're thinking too hard, then this message is not for you. Like if you're trying to figure out how that, like what you could place that with, then that message isn't for you. The people who that message is for, like it's going to be like, aha type of thing. Now, the other thing was, in the sense of, your life being your message. So it's with you guys having that natural innate ability to lead, there's a need to be aware of that influence and how you are affects people around you. And that could even be like in a workplace, if you're a manager, coworker, it doesn't matter. Because I'm more or less seeing it as like it doesn't matter if you literally have the title of leader. It's because in your soul essence, you guys, incarnated as a Leo to be a leader. It's like that is influencing people that are around you. But how that comes back to Leo is being like cognizant and aware of the message that your life is sending. Because you are sending a message, you are being an influence. Even if you feel like you have no influence, you do have influence, and your corner of the world is important for me to stress. And I'm getting raccoon eyes. That's what's hot in the streets right now. Don't judge me, Leo. But the other thing was, it's two sides of this. So this is so many different facets. So it's the parent-child thing, or when you were a child. The other thing is your life being your influence. And the two other sides of this I have written down is in partnerships and there being an equality of power. So, but like in two different ways. So say hypothetically if and that's like, friendships, work partnerships, relationships, whatever. But it's almost like a need. It's stressing awareness, Leo. Because I'm trying not to be too wordy, but it's a lot of stuff I'm trying to say. But it's a need to be aware of your influence in all of these different facets is the overall umbrella. But Spirit gave me specific like facets that this is channeled into. So when it comes to like one-to-one partnerships, it's almost as if some Leos may be overlooking another person's strengths, like almost like not saying that you're trying to dominate the situation, but it's just that natural leadership thing. But there's a need to become aware of another type of power. And the best way I could put it is if you think of someone who is, very intellectual and analytical, and they're very good, like, in mental capacities. But then you have another person who's very, very creative and artistic. So it would be a Leo who is very analytical and intellectual, not saying that that's it. It could be vice versa, whatever. But it'd be a person who values intellect and they would think that they need to lead the pact or the partnership in whatever facet that would be, because being analytical is the best way to be. So it would thus be discounting this person being, like having prowess and creativity in the artistic realm. So it's sounding a lot to me of needing to be present, to be clear of like what's going on. Because what I sense with that vision is all of the people are fighting because they have an end goal to get to the microphone, right? Everyone is trying to lead because it's not understanding that there's different types of leadership is what I'm saying. So that means if you look at it like a church, there's one person who's supposed to be the pastor. Then you have an assistant pastor. And then you have, the praise and worship leader and the choir. Then you have the deacon board. And then you have the mother board. You know what I'm saying? So all of these people are leaders, but they're different types of leaders. And the chaos I was seeing is because all of these people who are supposed to be leaders in their own right in different facets, everyone was trying to be the pastor. But everybody can't be the pastor. So the way that we make sense of that is Leo needing to, so however that, because I don't want to convolute it, but however that applies to your life in those different aspects is just a need to get clear of where you are, who you're working with, and what role you play, and to not make the assumption that you already have it figured out, you already know everything, and I put everybody else in their place. Is more or less cultivating like a servant leadership, which is a more authentic form of power, which is more intuitively guided. I hope that makes sense, Leo, because I didn't want to forget that, but it's so much stuff, because I'm looking at the stuff that I jotted down super duper fast, and it is buku. It's Lord, if I showed it to y'all, y'all would judge me. It's so scribble scratch. It's not even legible. I'm not even gonna lie to you, Leo. But that's the vibe that I'm getting overall. It's just a need to be aware, because it's like in the midst of all of this chaos, the chaos is a byproduct of you and everyone else being involved. But the reason why this message is coming for you is because I feel with your influence, you have the power, like kind of how I see the Five of Wands in the After Tarot, the ceasefire card. It's like you could stop all of the chaos if you step into your power. So if you're in the group of the people and you're thinking like, I'm supposed to be the pastor, so I'm fighting for the microphone because I'm supposed to be the pastor, November is a time for you guys to check in with yourselves and to see like, why am I doing this? And I think that's where that whole parental conditioning thing comes in. It's like, why am I doing this? Am I doing this because I know this is what I'm really supposed to be doing? Or have I been on autopilot fighting for this? And is this something I still should really be fighting for, if that makes sense? So it's kind of like a wake-up call to stop and reevaluate, if that's making sense. I hope and pray that it does, Leo, because there's a whole lot going on. So anyway, the central energy for you guys this month, I know y'all gonna let me know in the comments. We have the Knight of Swords. I'm a Taurus and a Gemini rising, and it's Mercury retrograde. Don't judge me, just love me. It's challenged by the Knight of Pentacles. That is interesting. Past influence. Wow, more knights. We have the Knight of Wands. That makes so much sense. Underlying influence, things that are hidden. We have the Hanged Man. Above energy, we have the King of Cups. This is a lot of court cards. And going forward, wow, we have the King of Wands. This is all court cards except for the Hangman. That is so fascinating. So for some of you, this could, I don't even want to say, it's not people. I don't feel this to be people. I mean, lots of people are watching this. I mean, it could. I don't really feel it as people. I'm seeing these very much as their energies. But the thing that I'm seeing is here, like how I talked about being on autopilot, that's what I'm seeing with the Knight of Wands here. It's like I feel up to this point, and I don't really feel it as a stopping point. How I'm seeing it energetically is almost as if this is an energy that can continue on until the ethers, if Leo doesn't put a stop to it. So it's like if Leo doesn't become cognizant or aware of this, this would just continue. So I'm not really seeing something coming in and being like, whoa, Leo, you've hit a blockade. Like, don't pass go. with the Knight of Wands, it's that energy that I was saying with everyone who's fighting for this microphone. It's like I'm an arrow that's been shot and I have this trajectory, and that's what it's always been. And this is what I'm supposed to do. And I'm fighting like hell, tooth and nail to get to this end goal. But there's a need to stop and reevaluate. Thank you, Spirit. So the sign of this is whatever chaos or like battle or fighting is going on in your life right now, whether that's in a mental sense or it's actually happening externally. So it's almost a need to ground this energy, because this is a very focused energy, which isn't a bad thing, because that was the issue that we talked about with Libra, is that there were some people who were spreading their energy too much. With Leo, it's good, because I mean, your energy is focused. It's just what it's looking like to me is that it may very well be focused in the wrong direction, because it's getting a start and going full throttle towards something, but it's not reevaluating the why it is that we're going full throttle. It's like we're just going full throttle because we've always gone full throttle and we've never stopped and questioned why it is that we're going full throttle. Or if we look at it as taking a stance, it's like, and that will go back to family conditioning as well. I approach things this way, or I argue this way, or I take my stand on this way because that's the way that it's supposed to be. And it's like, says who is what it really is. So to me, the signifier of this, it's something that's repetitive. It's something that I feel that Leo feels very self-justified in, how they handle things, how they begin things, how they end things, how they solve conflict. It could be a myriad of different ways. The way that I think, the way that I approach things, my work ethic, what have you. But the key signifier that this is something that's not necessarily in your highest good, the approach or why it needs to be reevaluated, is the fact that it's very harsh, it's brash, it's cutting, it's very direct. And let me clarify this. I'm not saying in any way, if you're a person who's a direct communicator, it's not saying, oh, stop communicating the way that you do. But it's really about evaluating, like I said, the why it is that we're doing the things that we're doing. Why do I approach conflict this way? Why do I approach compromise this way? It's just more or less a more reflective energy. And the other thing that I'm seeing with this, with the Hanged Man, which is letting me know that this is a month very much about self-evaluation and kind of getting in tune, which is yet another theme that I'm seeing with a lot of the readings, is like it's needing to find your ground. So it's not really so much about needing to change something about yourself or your approach or your modes of communication or what have you. It's not suggesting that. It's more or less the challenge is to ground this. Okay, I guess I'm using an electrical reference here. Grounding like a live wire, and the grounding is learning the why, because overall, so I'm not like extremely repetitive in what I'm saying, is overall the lesson for Leo this month is, or I can't even say lesson, overall what the task of self-reflection is for Leo this month is finding the whys behind actions and behaviors, right? And taking into account influence, like, why are you doing the things that you're doing? Why do you approach things this way? And then I say, I don't want to repeat myself, and I still repeat myself. I hate this energy, okay? Mercury retrograde always makes my mouth and my mind just misconstrued. But all in all, Leo, the thing that I'm saying is here, the challenge this month is really grounding this energy. But the way that you guys are going to get in tune with this, like I said, whatever you've been going full throttle with, whatever is causing conflict in your life, or whatever people that don't know each other, like say throughout your life. And I had a friend of mine tell me this before. She was like, she said, all throughout my life is the craziest thing. She's like, every person that I'm not friends with anymore, they all say that they stopped being friends with me because I'm selfish. Right? And I was like, did they? And she's like, and I'm not a selfish person. I don't understand how they could say that I'm selfish. And I was like, really? You are a little selfish. She asked my opinion, and I was like, well, I mean, you can be a little selfish sometimes. But the thing is that she never, of course we had a more in-depth conversation, because y'all know I'm a Taurus, I'm gonna be honest. It's like, I'm gonna sugarcoat it a little bit, like, I'm sorry, like, I love you, but you do be a little selfish sometimes. You know, somebody call you, ask for some advice, and you suddenly just make everything about you, and it's like, oh, well, I kind of was asking about me, made it about you, okay, gonna listen to you, you know. So it's one of those things where it wasn't until we had that conversation and me being honest with her, because she knows I'm a straight shooter, it's like, I love you, but you be, you know what I'm saying? And knowing I'm saying it out of love and not to just be a jerk, you know, but she realized that she discounted the fact that these people are like, well, you know, I don't want to talk to you anymore because you're selfish. And she discounted it because it was said at the ending of the friendship because the person got fed up, which I say that goes into a whole nother thing of it being where, you know, them not speaking up sooner or ever bringing that to her attention. But she discounted it with all these different people over the course of years because it was something that was said out of anger at the end of the friendship. So they thought that she was just being, you know, the people were just being mean and just saying, oh, you're selfish. And it's like, ugh, lies, right? But it took her to really sit there and look back and see like, okay, none of these people know each other. They had never met each other. So it's not like they all had like a town hall meeting and were like, hey, let's just say that she's selfish to make her think she's selfish when she's really not. And that's when she started kind of looking back at her behavior, looking back at those friendships and started to see like, wow. And that was one of the main examples that she told me. It's like, whenever they would call me about stuff or want to talk to me about stuff, I'd always think about like, and she was doing it, not even cognizant she was doing this. It's like giving them advice from something that she was experiencing, but not realizing that she dominated the conversation and stopped making it about them. Because in her mind, she's thinking, I'm telling them this story, kind of like what I do with y'all. Like, I'm telling them this story so they can garner something from my experience. But with the other person, it's the fact the person wanted to vent. It's like they wanted to have that time, but it ended up being about the story first, if that's making sense. So that's kind of like an illustration of the energy that I'm seeing here. It's the fact that you guys have had a tunnel vision approach or thought process or whatever, but it's gone unchecked for a long time. And it's like this has caused conflict, or for other people, you've literally been told by people outside of you that like, you know, why are you so harsh or you know, abrasive or dominating or whatever. So it's either the chaos or it's the fact that it's actual like verbal cues that you've heard from other people before in reference to this thing that you're going full gusto on. And it's not saying necessarily that you need to change. It's just you need to be aware of the behavior, have it being brought to your attention. And the other side of that is grounding it by you knowing the why you approach things that way. So like I say, for me, I have a tendency to speak truth, but because I don't ever want to be brash and I'm very conscious when I'm speaking of not wanting to hurt people's feelings, it's like, I don't want you to feel bad about yourself because I'm speaking this truth to you. I have a tendency to sprinkle a little sugar on it. It's not changing what it is that I'm saying. It's just my approach to how I communicate it as opposed to being like very, you know, brash and blunt. That's just not my style, right? It's not saying that, you know, hypothetically you'd have to communicate like I have, and this is all an example, but it's not saying that you would have to communicate that way. But it's more or less saying, I know the why behind me doing it, and it's the same thing. Like, I sugarcoat because I know sometimes most people don't like to hear things that are blunt and direct. It's not saying that mode of communication doesn't work for other people, but I just find, and with my working with people, it does not work for me, right? So it's not saying you guys have to change. It's just saying you need to know the why behind you doing it. And I'm repeating myself again. Don't judge me, Leo, okay? I need Leo hugs. You understand? I need to ground my brain, all right? I'm holding on to my crystals and everything, and it's just like my brain is just like, it's like a broken record. Moving right along. So with the King of Cups being you guys above energy, it's more or less communicating from a heart space or making sure that whatever it is that you guys are channeling your energy towards, that it's coming from a heart space. It's not, because it feels very much to me like, and I don't remember whose reading this came up in. I don't even remember. But I was talking about like Hierophant energy. And I was saying how I was using the example of like dead religion. It's like when we're doing the rituals and we've lost sight of the intention behind the ritual is when it ends up becoming like a bondage to us, so to speak. And that's where it's so important with this King of Cups energy is just to get reacquainted with yourself. So that's where I'm stressing that thing about you don't necessarily have to change. I just feel like you guys have been going so full gusto in this direction that you've kind of lost sight of the why that you're doing certain things or approaching things a certain way. And all of this gets you guys back into alignment with spirit. Because that's like the kind of disjointed feeling that I'm feeling. So if there is a level of conflict or stagnation in you guys' life, I feel that would probably be the only buffer, like something that's making you guys feel kind of stagnant, because it's not that there's a lack of action. There's a great deal of action. I just feel like the purpose in it has been forgotten. And with the King of Wands going forward, the purpose of all of this stuff happening is you guys stepping into your power, because it's almost like going back to our vision. It's like everyone is in the right place. Like this whole group of people, like the soul group, they're in the right place because they're in the church. They're in the right building. It's just that what they're fighting for isn't the right thing. And that's the same energy that I feel with you guys. It's like you're already where it is that you need to be. You have all the resources. It's just that either what you're fighting for is outdated, or the thing that's holding you back from stepping into the power or having the level of success that you desire, or being able to manifest whatever it is you guys are trying to manifest. The only thing that's inhibiting that is that you've forgotten the why. And that makes me think about the group 2 people over here with the workaholic card. It's just getting too caught up in the cycle and forgetting your purpose and your why. And the month of November for you guys is going to be about getting reacquainted with that through getting reattuned with your heart space and your connection with spirit. Man, Leo, I feel like y'all about to talk about me in the comments because that was so repetitive. I'm mad at myself for that, but I couldn't help it. I really couldn't. I'm going to throw the dice of resonance. You guys can ask a yes or no question. I literally couldn't help it, y'all. I really couldn't. I keep thinking I'm saying something else, and I'm like, oh no, I'm repeating myself again. My brain is like a spectator in the sport of my mouth this month. Again, don't judge me. Just love me. Just love me, Leo. All right. The answer to your question is no. We have Sagittarius. We have Aries, we have family, and we have moon. So Sagittarius, Aries, no, family, and moon. And we're going to throw the dice that have no name. Now I'm hearing brick by brick, Leo. You're building brick by brick. Speed is great. Achieving things and channeling speed and having the aesthetic, all of that is wonderful, but you don't want to build a whole house on a faulty foundation. Like there needs to be like some meat, you know? Your why is the meat. And that's why you guys are being slowed down. Because with fire energy, that's all passion, desire, like that's life force energy. And your ability to bring forth life is being inhibited by the lack thereof of purpose, because purpose and life force energy go in accordance with each other. It's always going to be that intention of, why am I channeling this energy? What am I creating? You know, that's what keeps it going. Otherwise, the fire burns out. So it has to be something true and close to your heart, you know, or your call. And I feel anything in you guys' life that, even if it's on the reverse and it's something that's hurting you, if it's someone in your life that's being brash and cutting towards you, or it's people who've been in and out of your life, and you guys are in a state of trying to figure out why, or reflecting why have things panned out this way. It's more or less that falling victim to being a feather in the wind, to where if you're not in your power, right? If you're not in service to your mission, your truth, your purpose, then by default, you end up becoming a servant to someone else's. And that just shouldn't be, you know? Because you guys are being called to power in a myriad of different facets, but it's more or less being cognizant in what ways you've given your power away. And much like I said with Libra, the solution to your problem lies in your what you're feeling emotionally, like what things are bringing fear-based or like negative emotions, and what it is that your higher self is leading you to do, like what that spiritual call is within you, and making the decision to not disempower yourself to the whims of other people, in so many words, if that's making sense. I hope that makes sense. Y'all gonna let me know in the comments. Oh, here comes Taurus again. We have Taurus. And I'm going to say this for y'all. We have the number 4, and I have no idea what that is. Is that Mercury? Are you coming to play with my feelings, Mercury? I said for the Taurus reading, the energy in that, I feel like Taurus and Virgo's reading would be helpful for all signs. But with the Taurus reading specifically, what I heard in reference to that was with Uranus being in Taurus. That's why like all signs would potentially resonate with that. And I started to notice that that's like the theme in a lot of my readings, because I said there's always one sign that always steps forward outside of the other ones, where it feels like a collective message. But I feel specifically this month with Taurus, it's the influence of Uranus being in Taurus of why I feel like that would resonate with all signs. So what planet is that? Is that Pluto? That is Pluto. Okay. So for Pluto, it says, okay. Well, this is, oh God. Okay. All right. Sorry, y'all. All right. So for Pluto, it says golden aura, Christ consciousness, and agape love, which is, you know, the highest vibration God love, right? Unconditional love. Divine unconditional love. You're being challenged to become more than human, a call for change and growth in our consciousness. Your motivations are shifting from personal to spiritual. That's exactly what we're saying. Thank you, Spirit. Like if I could just get this like 30 minutes ago. The pilot of your soul's evolutionary drive or desire is attracting outer events and situations into your life that reflect the inner needs. These provide the stepping stones for your spiritual growth. Wow, it's so wonderful how this is just so straight to the point of what I have struggled through for the last 30 minutes. My God. And then for Pluto, it says, challenge, be more than human. Commitment to the alchemical path of self-transformation. Purging oneself of ego-based desires, unhealthy attachments, and awareness of one's motives that block this transformation. If I could have just like, Spirit, though, you just got me out here just struggling. And then the dice, they have no name, just gonna say it to the point and whatnot. I'm just saying. And then with the number 4, of course, that goes to, wow. And then with Taurus, that's like the Hierophant energy that I talked about with the whole dead religion thing. Oh my gosh. Maybe I just do readings by just throwing the dice that have no name. My goodness. So for the Emperor, it says structure and order, master builder, and stability. So this is all going into what I'm saying. It's the fact that I feel like this is you, and I said this with someone else too, but it's like you guys are putting energy in a specific direction, but you've lost sight of what it is that you were doing it for. But in so many ways, I feel like the passion is being reignited, because what we're really talking about here overall, Leo, is if I were to project this into the future, it's like the energy that I see coming into this before this little coming to Jesus moment is like you guys would be on the fast track to building a tower. And we all know what happens with the tower. Because it's on a faulty foundation, it's going to crumble. So before the tower is even built, it's like a catalyst is coming in this month like a sobering wake-up call, so you guys don't get caught up or lost in the sauce of building something that is not already sturdy, right? And that's so we can cut that out. We don't need to learn no lessons from that. We can nip it in the bud early so you guys can go straight into stepping into your power. And for some of you, it may not even require making any life-altering changes per se. I mean, if you want something different, of course, we have to implement change, but it's more or less just knowing your why, and knowing your why will birth the changes that need to be made. So, Leo, man, that was so hard. That has been your reading. Y'all let me know in the comments what you think. Your girl was struggling. But I'm going to go over to Vimeo to do you guys extended. If you're about that life, follow me over there. If not, I still love your freaking face, and I will see you guys sooner than later. With my group 1 people, I feel for you guys, there was a change of direction that is or was, if this is past tense, out of your control. It's like, what am I supposed to do now? And it's almost like sulking of like, I was supposed to be. Now for my group 2 people, so it's more or less you guys losing your why, more or less you guys having an end goal, but at one point in time, it's as if the end goal was always in sight, in mind, but you enjoyed the journey. But then it may be that more things got packed on, or it got competitive, and it got to a point to where there was a need to be successful or a need to produce, you know what I mean? So it's getting lost in production, in achievement, and it's losing the why you pursued this in the first place. With my group 3 people, mental and emotional turmoil, it could be shame, it could be guilt, it could be a need for self-forgiveness, especially if you guys have Libra in your chart.